Hey everybody, I'm Greenhavak,
And I'm Cynize.
and this is ESHQ's
The Wrap.
Justice reigns from above. No one can hide from my sight. Cheers, love! The cavalry's here!
Hey everybody, and welcome to ESHQ's The Wrap, where we're going to take a look at the past week and kind of give you our opinions of what, well, we just saw. So, starting off with Wednesday the 17th, we have the San Francisco Shock versus the Philadelphia Fusion, the Florida Mayhem versus the Seoul Dynasty, and the Houston Outlaws versus the Shanghai Dragons. I feel like that day was pretty straightforward, but do you have any talking points you want to bring up about those three?
You know, we were able to pinpoint which team was going to win for all three. So really, it was a straightforward. Seoul Dynasty, of course, was going to win against Mayhem, and Outlaws, of course, was going to win against Dragons.
And that was a much-needed win, though.
Oh.
They needed to reestablish that, what we saw in week one is not what we should expect from the Outlaws.
And really, it shows for the rest of the week what the Outlaws are capable of. But in the first game, the Shock and Philadelphia Fusion, that was really the only game that really put me on the edge of my seat. You know, what's going to happen? There was a tied game in there. And really, it was anyone's game. But the Fusion came out on top, which was, not as surprising, but it was still a good game to watch.
Yeah, no, I would definitely say if you were going to watch any of the games from the first day, it is the San Francisco Shock versus the Philadelphia Fusion. It was fun, a little straightforward. Yep. Philadelphia Fusion definitely lived up to kind of what we were talking about in Good Luck Have Fun, where they're going to be able to get after Baby Bay. They have the options, and we've just seen it time and time again with San Francisco. If Baby Bay is put on the back burner and not able to really get that big usage out of them, San Francisco looks a lot weaker. But moving into Thursday, January the 18th, day 2 of week 2, we have the Dallas Fuel versus the Houston Outlaws. That was exciting. The New York Excelsior versus the LA Valiant. That was exciting. And the Philadelphia Fusion versus the Los Angeles Gladiators, which somehow was the most exciting match of the day.
If you just want to spend a day watching games, Thursday is the day to do it, apparently, because we thought Dallas Fuel was going to be great. We thought that they were equal, if not better, to the Houston Outlaws.
If I remember correctly, you had the game going to overtime, but to the Outlaws.
That's right.
I expected Dallas to bounce back from their weaker performances, given that it was the rivalry game. I had them winning the series 3-1, and no, the Houston Outlaws come out and get the 4-0.
They come out swinging. It was such an impressive showing. I mean, they came off a game in day 1 with a 4-0 against the Dragons. Sure, that's great, but that must have boosted their morale, put them in place, and allowed for their entire team to just play magnificently.
Yeah, you can almost say the Shanghai Dragons were the MVP of the Houston Outlaws versus the Fuel.
Oh my goodness, you probably could.
And then to follow that up with the Excelsior's Valiant game. Now, we said we could see the Excelsior winning that game, but not a 3-0.
I was so surprised. I had Valiant winning 3-1.
I had the same thing.
And that just shows you how early it is in this league. Anyone can win against anyone right now, and we would be surprised. This was an upset in my eyes. Just because Valiant have been playing amazingly. Excelsior, they've been okay. They've always come out on top, but they just really didn't stand apart like Valiant has.
They didn't have that big money victory.
Right, exactly.
And you know what? Now they do.
They really have. I mean, the 3-0, well done, and this just ranks them up even higher with the big dogs.
But I will say, for the Valiant way to come back, and they didn't ultimately win the map, but they didn't allow New York to get that final point. That's big because that shows that there's team grit there. You can't underestimate that moving forward in the league. But how, with those 4 teams playing against each other, does Philadelphia Fusion versus the Los Angeles Gladiators become the series that it was?
Seriously, what Oh my goodness. If you were going to watch any game out of these three, it's going to be the third one. The Philadelphia Fusion and Gladiators just brawled at each other. They were so much fun to watch.
And the best part about these two teams is they were so evenly matched. I believe we both had this going to overtime for different teams.
That's right. Yeah, definitely.
So, I mean, it's... Well, oh, I'm sorry. No, you had it going 3-1 to the Gladiators.
Yep, 3-1 Gladiators. I'm pretty happy that they still won, but it wasn't a tie in my book. But wow.
I had it going to overtime. I had it going to the Fusion.
Okay.
And that was exciting. That was exciting to see that series was so close. Philly came out the gate swinging, and that Philly took control of the game the way I was hoping they would. They went out and they just got in the Gladiators' face. They were messing with them. They weren't letting teamwork be a factor. What do the Gladiators do?
Oh, they go back and reconsider what they're doing. They're like, oh, this is how the Fusion is playing. Well, we got a playbook in for exactly this. I mean, they really came back and swept the floor.
And the big thing for me is they came back. Map 3, it looked decent, but it wasn't a clean victory.
Sure.
Map 4 looked good.
Oh, yeah.
But it still wasn't that, like, you didn't feel comfortable.
Sure. It was a brawl. You know, that's fine.
But map 5, they went, no, I'm sorry. Did we say this could be your series? We meant that it was our series.
Basically, it was Gladiators doing the McCree ult. You know, they were like, oh, okay, I'm going to wait a little bit longer. Oh, yeah, we're pulling the trigger now. You're just done. That's how it was.
Yes. So, if again, you know what? I don't want to sound like a broken record, but if you have to, or no, not even have to, if you have the time to watch a game, Philadelphia Fusion, Los Angeles Gladiators, watch it. Moving into Friday, January the 9th, we had the Seoul Dynasty versus the Boston Uprising, the Shanghai Dragons versus the Florida Mayhem, and the London Spitfires versus the Dallas Fuel. We had another pretty straightforward day here with a couple questions with the Shanghai Dragons and Florida Mayhem.
Sure.
London Spitfire, Dallas Fuel being the big game. But what do you have to say about this day?
You know, really, Seoul Dynasty, Boston Uprising wasn't surprising to me. 4-0, Seoul Dynasty is they're just out here to play and they're out here to win. Now, what really I enjoyed the Shanghai Dragons versus the Florida Mayhem just because this was really a battle to see who was really on the bottom. Florida Mayhem came out to play. The Dragons just didn't have it in them to really fight against them or finish any of the maps completely. It was just gameplay in general in this entire week has just been mediocre.
For me, one of the things I will say about the Shanghai Dragons that I think this is important. I think because so many people are coming down on the players.
Yeah.
I personally think we need to take a look at the staff and the coaching because we saw these players play in the preseason.
Oh yeah.
Jet lagged with no sleep, hopping into the arena and playing back-to-back games.
Sure.
They battled against the Seoul Dynasty and the Boston Uprising, and they got 4-0'd by the Seoul Dynasty, but a lot of people have been 4-0'd by the Seoul Dynasty.
That's right.
They looked better against the Seoul Dynasty than they did against the Florida Mayhem. So to me, there's something else wrong.
That's right.
I don't think it's just on the player level. I think we need to look a little closer at the team in general. But how about that London Spitfire Dallas Fuel game?
You know, these are still two teams that we think are great. Dallas Fuel just hasn't been showing us. However, they did put up a fight. They really did.
They did. But with this loss, 3-1 to the London Spitfire, that puts Dallas in 11th place.
Yep.
Second to the bottom.
Shanghai Dragons right below them, calling their name.
Yep.
Wow. I want to see. So before, it was a battle between, who's in last, between Florida Mayhem and Dragons. I cannot wait to see the Dragons play the Fuel.
Well, I guess we'll find out what burns hotter, the flames of a dragon or Dallas.
Oh, no.
Moving into the final day of the week, Saturday the 20th. Los Angeles Valiant versus the London Spitfire. London with back-to-back games. The last game of the 19th, the first game of the 20th. Exciting. The Los Angeles Gladiators, the scrappy LA team versus the New York Excelsior, and the Boston Uprising versus the San Francisco Shock.
Oh, yeah.
Which, I mean, if it wasn't for the Valiant and the Spitfires, might have been the game of the day.
Oh, completely. Seriously, that had me on the edge of my seat to the very last second. One of the best games, but I feel like we'll get to that. Valiant and Spitfire.
Valiant and Spitfire.
What an amazing matchup.
And on top of that, how do you feel for the London Spitfire now that they've won against two of the at the very least player-wise top-tier teams, the Dallas Fuel and the London Spitfire,
Yep.
and on top of that, back-to-back?
Yeah. No, their stamina, their morale, their ability just to keep going and keep fighting, especially in overtime, these guys are probably one of the peak top players in the Overwatch League. To be able to continuously come out and be on top of your game like that, what an impressive display. Seriously. And the Valiant, they lost. They took it into overtime. But it's like this week just didn't flow with them. It didn't help them at all. Like this brought them down quite a bit.
Yes, it absolutely did. I mean, the Valiant, they need to come out big this next week with a win, reaffirm themselves, get their momentum reestablished and moving. And because one of the things I think some people forget a little bit when they're watching these games is a lot of these guys are, 18 years old.
That's right.
Winning and losing is something that's still got to be pretty new to them, regardless of how much they've done it.
Especially on the stage.
Especially on a stage, and especially for the Overwatch League starting. I mean, this is new to a lot of people. If it's new to the world, it's going to be new to the players. And if it's new to the players, it's unforeseen levels of stress. It's unseen levels of anxiety. And so, the Valiant, they're going to need to come back out. They're going to need to rely on their veterans like Soon to lead that team into another win, get them back on that winning side, which they should be on.
That's right.
Talking about getting a team needing to get back on the winning side. How about those Gladiators getting 4-0'd by the New York Excelsior?
That's fine. New York Excelsior, they are such a great team right now. They are getting better and better. They are showing that they are one of the top teams for sure. And the Gladiators, they just don't have the mechanical ability as the New York Excelsiors. They have the strategies, they have the plans, and we've seen them in action. Super fun to watch, super fun to break down. They just didn't have the raw power.
Yeah, honestly, it's simply put, they're just missing a little bit of that it factor.
That's right.
So New York Excelsior is going to be an exciting team moving forward. So if you're going to highlight some teams to watch, New York Excelsior would be a good team to highlight. But almost claiming match of the day, so close if not for the Valiant and the Spitfire, Boston Uprising and San Francisco Shock putting on a show.
Talking about scrappy teams, talking about just the mid-level brawls. Like seriously, such a fun and fantastic time to watch. It came down to the very last second into overtime. It was, seriously, this is another game to watch. If you have time, watch this game.
Both of these series, both Los Angeles Valiant, Spitfire, Boston Uprising, and San Francisco Shock, both of those series to me, they go to overtime, and it really shows you that extra level of we want this.
That's right.
Because both of them, they struggled a little bit. They started to look a little shaky. You started going, I don't know if they're going to have, I don't think these teams have the answers to these questions.
That's right.
And then they turn around confidently and go, we've got this.
Yeah.
And so for me, the San Francisco Shock London Spitfires, huge tip of the hat to both of them. Also, because I picked them this week to win in overtime for both of those games.
You know what?
So
that's fine.
It helps when you root for them. So I got to ask you this: looking at the entire week, anything else before we get on out of here?
I'm really excited to see the Houston Outlaws continue their pace of gameplay coming into week 3. I'm really excited to see if they can keep up this speed and really come out as one of the top teams, just like Seoul Dynasty and so many other teams have been thinking about. They have been saying that the Houston Outlaws are going to be a top tier team completely. We didn't see it in week 1, but we saw it in week 2, and they came out swinging. I'm really excited to see that, and I'm also really excited to see all the undefeated teams starting to play each other. I mean, sure, they started playing, mid-tier teams, lower-tier teams, but once they start fighting each other, it's going to be intense.
No, that's a great point. For me, more than the 4-0 teams and who's going to lose first, I want to know who is going to win first.
Okay.
I want to know. So we've got 2 teams winless. 2 teams who haven't won
Oh my
yet.
goodness, Dallas Fuel and Shanghai Dragons?
That's right. I
Oh,
want to know,
man.
is it embarrassing for the Dallas Fuel if the Shanghai Dragons were to win first?
They can't. They can't. That would be...
But just imagine that story.
Wow.
From considered to be in the top 3
Going
to
all the way down.
sitting at the bottom. That would be quite a story. Because on top of it, it also allows them to rise like a blue phoenix from the bottom of the pile. So, I mean, and you know me, I like my narrative.
Yep.
But I want to know, does Dallas pick up a win first, or does Shanghai? And that right there could be a big morale boost for Shanghai.
Yeah.
They're a team that's asking a lot of questions. They need to find some answers. If they could pick up a win before Dallas Fuel, that mentally can give them, hey, we weren't the last team to pick up a win. And that could be a little bit of a snowball effect to see them start to battle instead of 12th, 11. To see them start looking up to, hey, maybe 8th. And, put together a little more of what we are kind of expecting and wanting of the Shanghai Dragons.
Sure.
So that would be my takeaway is who gets a win first.
It depends on who they're playing first, that's for sure. I mean, looking probably at the schedule futuristically, it looks like the Fuel has easier games to win.
Oh, you don't think the Shanghai can pick up their first win versus the Seoul Dynasty?
Well, if they try really hard, really put, that extra oomph in it.
But if you want to know our predictions, you're going to have to check us out next week on Good Luck, Have Fun. As far as this week in the Overwatch League, that's a wrap.
If you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe and join the conversation down in the comments. It really helps us out a lot. And if there's any other content you would like to see from us, make sure to let us know because we're all ears here at ESHQ.